What do you think of this?
Is that the logo?
Yeah,
That's the logo.
This is Scoop
It's a
City.
square, but we put it on a shirt.
Do you spot us?
All right, so is there, I do, is there,
Like you can miss us.
no, but is there, like, all right,
Every team is represented.
What was the city, though, that maybe, is there a city that you
that we thought of when we did this?
Is it New York?
No.
Is it Chicago?
No,
or is
I think it's just it's an
Scoop
NFL
everywhere.
city.
It's
your
Scoop.
city.
It's my city.
Well, and here it is for when I was your holder for 3 years, right?
Listen,
in New Orleans.
Our snapper, holder, and kicker at one point were all from South Lake Carroll High School.
Hey,
It's never happened in the NFL.
parents still live
incredible.
there.
And I used to live there. I watched him play high school football. My daughter was a 7-year-old cheerleader, and they would have one varsity game a year they got to cheer. I lived a mile from the stadium, and so I've seen him play high school. I saw him play 4 games. Todd Dodge was his coach, and I'm there for the halftime where the 7-year-olds come out. You know? And so I'm seeing him play before he went to Missouri, and think about full circle. It's
just
crazy.
how it all comes together.
09. I've never told you this story, and you probably forgot. But in 09, I went to Jim Zorn and the Washington football team at the time, and so that I was undrafted out of there.
I know the story.
But
He's undrafted, and he's
Let's see it.
and he
Trust me,
final
we all
cut
know the
down. They're
story.
trying to sign him to the practice squad,
Yep.
and we intervene, and he.
I am literally in Jim Zorn's office, the next to go in and sign a deal. So I get a call from a 504 number. It comes up in New Orleans, like, who the hell is this? I get my phone, and I'm literally the next person to go in line to sign the practice squad deal. I get on my phone. He's like, hey. I'm like, hello? He's like, this is Sean Payton. It's like, oh, hey. He's like, walk out of the office. Because you knew you'd been talking to my guy. He said, walk out of the
gonna
office.
get this done.
I go, Coach, are you sure?
100%.
Yeah, because
Are you sure?
that's a hard
Because-
spot to be in. You have a contract right in front of you. You're in.
We got you.
Yeah, we got you. And so I walk out of the office into a building. He's like, get an Uber. I'm like, what? I swear to this.
Yes.
This conversation lasted 30 seconds. He goes, listen, we're going to sign you to.
Don't hang up. Stay on the phone with me.
Yeah. He said, we're going
I'll
to
guide you
sign
through
you
this.
to practice squad for the first 2. You said it exactly, Coach. We're going to sign you to practice squad for the first 2 games, and then you will be on active roster. I promise you.
And-
Super Bowl later.
And he stuck with his word on it.
5 years later
Yeah.
with him. He stuck to his word to a T. I am
love
in
that.
Zorn's office.
I love that.
Yeah.
What a great story. And Chase and I were both saying, like, we both obviously have known you for such a long time, but just watching you on the sidelines and just hearing the buzz around your practice, Coach, I don't remember the last time you've seen this happy.
Well, I'm never happy.
True.
I would say it's much different this year. It's a young team, but I mean, the competition and the way practice is going is entirely different than a year ago. And it's not any one player from a year ago. It's just a series of transactions that are moving you in a direction you want to get to. And then this draft class, we're going to remember, like, this class has a chance to be really good.
Yeah.
And I could go through every one of them. Obviously, it'll be measured by Bo Nix first, but these other guys, Ellis and Estime, Bailey, Franklin, I mean, Abrams, Drain. There's so many guys that have come in right away, and like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, you root for them, but you can't. You got to really go by what you see, and they're impressing.
Specifically going into year 2, how are you molding this team? Like, I was in the meeting room last night with you, and that was awesome. Thank you for letting me come in. But I missed it, man. The vigor, the energy, the passion you're speaking to this team. You got something so special.
Yeah.
What are you doing to put your stamp on this team?
I think each night it's different. So there's an educational point to the meeting. Let's study these situations now and really, practice them, and then repeat the video and show the examples, and then just talk about goals and outside expectations versus inside expectations. And I think that when I say they're believing and they're working and they're wanting to please and then we're real with looking at the work and then being honest with our coaching.
Yeah.
So take us into the Bo Nix thing. I am fascinated by
I brought
him.
my quarterback for
Yeah,
a reason, because I know if
Is
I
this
ask you.
podcast going right now, or is this?
Yes, we've been going the whole
Okay,
time.
I want to tell you about my first podcast. That's why.
Oh, no.
All right,
Okay.
so
We don't want to hear it.
no, it
I
was
wanna
on
hear
the
it, I wanna hear it, I
telephone.
wanna
I'm
hear
not even going to tell you about it. I started having this conversation with this guy, and I didn't know what a podcast was. And then I'm like, I wonder when we're going to get around to start the podcast. He's like, we're winding down. I'm like, and I had gone, I'm trying to go back and think of what I needed to edit.
Yeah.
No, I think when the off season hit and we saw the draft class, there's a process relative to all the positions, but certainly attention to the quarterback position. And so you know, all of these guys really, not as much Caleb, because I think there was that understanding where he was going.
Yeah.
But the rest of this class was the pro days, the visits here, the combine, and then the private workout. You know, at 5 p.m. we send the fax, or the email, excuse me. And we send more than we think they're going to be able to digest, because we're going to be in their school at 9 a.m. So it's always a 5 p.m. email out. We're at the school beginning at 9. And just how do they do with that?
Yeah.
And so specifically to Bo, I'd never been to Oregon. We fly up there, and you know, he's kind of ready. He's in the meeting room, and I'll bet there's 6 of us in the room. But you know, Joe or somebody's conducting the interview relative to, hey, draw up. We sent you this. Take me through this, and you're looking for recall, and he's doing great. He's doing really good, and it's going to be 2 hours, and we're probably at the hour 40 mark, and I'm like, all right, I've seen enough.
I'm good.
Then I'm like, hey, what's in your backpack? And he had a backpack. I just wanted, you know, and he, you know, 1 pair of turf shoes, and then he had grass shoes, and then he had a lacrosse ball for recovery, and then everything he pulled out of there was football related. And I'm just waiting for like a candy bar, some chewing, like one vice.
A vice.
And then it's like, and everything came out, and it was like, I looked down, I'm like, all right, let's go throw.
Yeah.
So he threw about, I'd say, 80 balls that day. What was impressive, the pro day was Friday. This was the next morning. And there's Troy Franklin, and there's the running back, and then there's his offensive lineman. This is Bo's pro day with just one team. Excuse me, this is his individual workout.
This is his private workout with
the pro day was the day before.
Okay.
And here are all these teammates at his private workout with one team. So you're observing all of this, and then I go over and meet, the center was in this year's draft, and he's like, how's he doing? They're all asking, and now we drafted Alex Forsythe a year ago, who was his center.
Yep.
So Alex gave us great insight. He's like, man, this guy's super with protections, real smart.
Specifically when it comes to your scheme, though, like I was in it for 7 years, 2 with Lombardi in LA, 5 with you. You've never had a rookie quarterback.
I haven't.
What quarterback traits specifically
So
do you
I'm going
guys
to give
look
them
for?
to you. Before, the workout was fantastic. So arguably one of the more accurate college players in history, 78% last year. He is statistically. And, you know, we're lucky enough to have a real good analytics department. And so we can, the first thing we wanted to do was eliminate all the bubbles, the smokes. You know, everyone bangs him for the underneath throws. That's his offense to some degree. It's not like he can't control that.
Yeah.
But we eliminated those throws with every quarterback in the class. So those are off. And then third down, he's first in the class. Red zone, first in the class. 2 minute and a half, first in the class. 2 minute crunch time, first in the class. Minus play differential. So 2 years at Oregon, 0 fumbles. He's got a 10 3/8 stand. Sack differential, he's best in the class. I'd say the single most important trait, besides his processing, which is always hard to really measure, I'd say is his ability to throw from a dirty pocket. You know, there's just a little bit of penetration, and he can kind of take that quick step and be right on point. And we kept, the new thing to do nowadays on these private workouts, these coaches have these guys running here and then throwing here, and it's like, what are you doing? They're all trying to do the Mahomes throw. But I want to see what happens in a game, and when you watch his off-schedule throws in a game, it's remarkable. It's noticeable. Something happened with him I've never seen on film before. You know, it's a third down play, and the tackles are rushing up the field, and the guard's blocking the 3 technique, and he slips between the guard, between the guard and the 3 technique, and then climbs and throws it to a tight end. And I replayed it. I said, I've never seen this before. So he's very comfortable off schedule. And I would say he is fast. I asked him the other day, we were talking about this, I said, why didn't you shuttle or run a 40 or any of that? Those would have been assets for you. He said, I had a toe injury, and I didn't know that I was 100%. Now that makes sense, because it's something he does well, and yet there was no shuttle, there was no 40, and he had a toe irritated.
But my question about this, and I think a lot of people are wondering, right? So here we are watching practice, and Chase is talking through your offense with me, and we're watching his throws, and he looks like a vet. He looks like a 5-year veteran out there, the way he's able to comprehend, understand, and run it. But it just seemed around the draft, nobody had their eye on Bo the way you did.
Well, I know this. There were a few other teams that saw it the same way. And the one comment I made to George after he finished throwing that day, and we came back, we watched all of Oregon, all of Auburn, went back to Oregon, we stopped the tape, and I said, George, I'm just going to say this, we're not the only ones seeing it this way.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, of course not. How?
We're not the only
You're
ones
smart,
seeing it this
but
way.
you have to figure other
and
people are
so
seeing
I'm not worried about where. Let's not get cute in this process.
Yeah.
And you try to simulate what you think's going to happen. We felt the Giants were going to be an at-large team, not necessarily for Bo, but for quarterback. Are they taking one or not? And then they didn't. And so pretty soon there's 3 teams with a need: the Vikings, Broncos, and the Raiders. And then Atlanta, out of nowhere, no one saw that.
Yep.
And now there's still 3 teams, 2 quarterbacks.
Yep. Did you feel comfortable at that time?
Well,
not
as comfortable as I did before their pick.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so Minnesota's right ahead of us, the Raiders behind us. Minnesota goes up 1, and then they draft JJ. And now there's 1, and the Jets are still on the clock. And I said to George, call the Jets. Just call them. We don't want to move up unnecessarily a pick or 2.
But you don't want another team to jump
I don't want
them
anyone,
doing a deal
because
with
you
someone
had-
else.
I don't want anything happening like Kansas
the
City.
Mahomes.
Yeah, you can't
thing.
have
Anybody can come.
Yeah.
And so we stayed on and then I think the Jets said to George, you called us, what do you want? He goes, no, I just was checking in. So our concern right behind us were the Raiders, and then it was like, well, call the Raiders and tell them we might want to move back to see if, and so there was this, they didn't want to move up, and then there's that, minute you wait and then we'll stay put, and the Jets make their pick, and then here we are.
What was the reaction like in the draft room?
It was
when you knew?
outstanding. It was outstanding. It was.
Did you see it? It was amazing. They were cheering.
I mean,
somebody in the building told me though, because this thing was kept under wraps. Like I'm
Yeah, we
telling you,
didn't-
as somebody who was digging
When did you
on this
know?
story,
But when did you know it was the guy that you wanted no matter what?
The individual workout.
Yep.
After the meeting, we went onto the field, and about throw 16, I just said to George, "This is the guy."
So you knew it, and you didn't
I'd already
matter,
seen all the tape. Throw
and
16.
you were willing to trade up for him.
why 16?
I saw enough.
You saw enough. 16 was enough for you to go.
Okay,
"My
so
guy."
So
16.
here are the things that you got to tune out. He doesn't have his arm strength's outstanding. He's 6'2 and a half, 220 pounds, and you do a lot of other digging. You call up, places he's worked. Phillip Rivers had a chance to work with him. Call up Phillip, and he's like, Coach, this guy can spin it. And the location, if you looked at his pro day location, we charted 82 throws, 81 were exactly on the right shoulder. He had one that was a little super accurate. And it was about halfway through our individual workout where I'm like,
So it was 16 throws. Okay, he's had way more than 16 throws out here.
yeah.
Are you ready to name him the starter?
Yeah.
And why haven't you?
Listen, well, we haven't because there's a process that we started out at the very beginning. We said, hey, there's no reason to.
Yep.
All right, let's make sure he's getting his work, and let's make sure Stiddy's getting his work. This frickin' Zach Wilson now, the last
playing amazing.
week and a half,
That's great.
I grabbed him and I said, look, I just want you to focus on having fun and playing. My job is to make you millions either with us or for another team.
Wow.
His last 2 weeks have been outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see the film because when you're out here at this type of practice, you're kind of like
He's
you're
completions,
one of the
coach.
principals.
Yes.
So I'm not seeing I'm looking at Lombardi like, take a shot, will you get the ball down the field? I'm always pissed at whoever's calling plays if I'm not. It's just hard. But I think that, I love the room right now. And I think Davis Webb, who's a young superstar in the waiting, I mean, he provides a little bit of that. I mean, it's not often you get a player that goes right from playing into coaching and then has a text saying, hey, would you consider coming?
That's wild.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
He's got every game plan from his high school to college. I'll pull up some play, and in about 8 minutes he'll have it on video. I'm like, where'd you get that? He goes, this was his dad is a coach.
Yeah.
But Davis has done a good job with that room. And to your question, though, I think we felt everyone has an opinion on how they want to do that. Chicago certainly named Caleb the starter in the spring.
Yeah.
They didn't play him in the first preseason game. I think we're going to get closer to an answer probably next week.
Yeah. That's great. And it all signs
Parcells
show.
would tell me, "What are you in a hurry?"
I am very. I believe that very much.
Are you in a
so.
hurry?
Well, here's a question too, and I heard you guys talking about it. He hasn't heard you. Bo Nix has not heard you on the headset.
He's getting ready to.
He hasn't heard you.
Yeah.
What are you expecting him
I
to
told
do?
him,
Because
I
he's
said-
very calm.
I just said, sit
you're not
back.
calm on the headset.
I said, sit back. I said, sit back and enjoy the flight.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Like I wish I was.
No, but I'm glad you're
mic'd
bringing
up
that
for
up because something.
That's a great point.
No,
because Joe called the
You haven't
plays
been on
last
it.
week.
I saw Joe calling the
Joe
plays
was
today.
in his ear, all right, and so it's going to be important. I'm in his ear,
Yeah.
all right, and Joe does a great job. And yet, when you're in game and there'll be a call made, and I'll be like, God, I hate that call.
Yeah.
But you have to like let that
Yeah.
go when someone else is doing it. You just have to let them focus. So I'm anxious to.
Well, these are different steps in rookie quarterback's development.
I'll
and having Sean Payton
probably
on the
repeat
mic.
the play
And-
real quick.
Yeah.
But you say to me all the time, every time Chase and I get into quarterback play calling, he always references you and
It's
explains how
unbelievable.
complicated it is. So how are you going to help a rookie? Because you can't
I would say here's the one thing we've done. Andy's done it too. I hear a couple of his calls. I'm like, so we'll come up with like beef jerky, or we'll come up with like Seahawk,
Yeah.
or we've all begun to say, hey,
Spontaneous.
let's come up with a term and let everyone understand what they got to do. And if there's a receiver maybe that needs the tag, then we'll do
Yeah.
that to help him.
Tag it well.
So trying to untag some of these and just give it cleanly, and it would be, even if Bo wasn't here and it was someone else, it's just moving a little bit in the direction. There's probably 20 calls that we could call that they go right to the ball and run. 3x1, 2x2 are empty, and be able to do it. And it just, you become a little bit more efficient.
And will you continue to add as the season progresses, if Bo is named the starter, to add stuff that he did at Oregon that he feels comfortable? Or are you dead set
2 weeks
on
ago,
what works?
no, 2 weeks ago, we moved. Our 06-07 offense was so
Yep.
different than when you came, and then it was different in 18. I asked Davis in front of him, I said, I want these three guys to give you their favorite play. And I don't want it right away. I want you to think about it. And then finally, Nix gives him one, Stiddy gives him one, Zach gives him one. All three are in. We're run today.
Flutie Sting?
And no, we already have Flutie Sting.
Oh, okay.
I
What you have to run?
wanted
That's
like
my favorite play.
a different little play that they like,
Yeah.
and explain it, and then I'm constantly kind of like keeping track of whose play's doing better, right?
Yeah.
And I think the number one job we have is to move in the direction of where our skill set is. And when Sproles came, and he provided something. Jimmy Graham, and so we weren't locked into the 07 or 8, and then by the time we're 18, 19, it just evolves.
Yep.
And then, but I do think there is that starting point.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you go to advance.
Too much.
Yeah, let's, and even with the cadence, I said to him, this is Bowen's. I said, just give me a standard count, give me one that fools him. Give me a quick count and then a yellow,
Yeah, because he didn't call cadence in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the huddle's an
the clap.
adventure.
Even that's a challenge.
Yeah.
itself. You pointed
I
that
saw
out
you pulling
before.
out of the huddle today.
Hear me out. This is our sideline. We're going left to right. Where's the quarterback in the huddle? He's on the right side of the huddle, so he can turn and look
Sideline.
at me. All right, we're going right to left now. He's on the left part of the
side.
huddle. He's always been on one side of the huddle. He said, do you mind if I go to the other side of the huddle today? I said, I don't have a problem with that. Just go over there.
Yeah.
He'd never done that before. I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
That's
I
great.
said, I want
the
your
nuances.
eyes, though, so you're
Yeah.
always going to be near me.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. So our podcast is called Scoop City, as you know. So
I like it.
Our last question's always
You're stealing my
Yeah.
T-shirt.
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
gave me.
Let's go.
That's our gift.
That's all
So
yours.
Scoop
It's gonna look
City,
great on
I
you.
know both these guys very well. I
Yes.
consider them friends. They're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Chase does a great job with the quarterback work. I love it. I love that you
So what's
guys.
the scoop, though? We need the scoop on the Denver Broncos. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be breaking news. I
young
mean, we
and
know
hung-
the breaking
young
news.
and hungry.
Young and hungry.
Young and hungry, and I would say a couple things. We brought in a handful of defensive linemen to help our front. I don't know. You probably didn't overlap with the tackle from New Orleans that we brought in. John Franklin Myers,
Yep.
Malcolm Roach, a few of these veteran players. I think we have to be better against. I know we have to be better against the run, and I'm pleased with how that front is playing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, let's get back to the quarterback. The two greatest allies for good quarterback play are a good defense and a running game. If you're struggling defensively and giving up points, it becomes harder on the quarterback because he has to match those scores. And then if you're struggling to run the ball, then pretty soon he's on the high dive the whole game. And I think even the greatest at that position, it's important that they have some snaps where they're just jumping in the water from the side of the pool. And so how do we, from a scheme standpoint, match what they do?
Yeah.
Every Monday, for instance, the weekend's over with. After our team leaves, the first film I'll watch will be that weekend's touchdowns. And it'll start on the 1 yard line. And there's 50 to 60 plays, and I always get to see who had the longest touchdown of the week. It ends over here somewhere.
Yeah.
But with each one of those plays, you would say play or player. You know, a receiver goes up, makes a great play on top of a corner's head, or quarterback scrambles, throws one, and those would be player, player, player. And then all of a sudden you see this concept where a receiver comes open, and then you'd say play. And so we'll try to mark those unique schemes that may fit or may not fit.
Yeah.
And so when that finishes on Monday, I've kind of got a hot folder of 14 touchdown thoughts. It's just touchdown thoughts from the weekend that would be more scheme driven than player driven.
Yeah.
Before you go, the kicks, Coach. You're the only coach with a Jordan brand deal. You got the concretes on today. Those are
Spike Lee.
How did you get this deal?
Give us your business.
The Super Bowl was in Miami, and I think it's 2018 or 19, and I had
right before COVID.
Yeah,
it was the COVID Super Bowl.
Yeah, this was prior to the COVID Super Bowl, and I had an email about this new golf course that Michael Jordan was opening, Grove 23.
Yep.
And it was an invite to come look as a potential candidate. And that sounded great. You know, it's in Jupiter.
Yeah.
And so, you know, maybe I can get there 3 or 4 times a year, but like I'm from Chicago and I had never met him.
Yep.
So, and we're in Florida already. And so my wife and I went up. The clubhouse was going to open that Sunday. They were in a trailer and we got a good tour from Ken Wyhan. Ken's the president. He runs the whole operation. He does a great job and he's a good friend. And my wife nudged me at one point and she said, "Are we interviewing him or is he interviewing us?" And it was a fair question. I said, "Ken," I said, "are you interviewing us or are we interviewing you?" He said, no, you have a membership. We're just showing you around.
Oh,
and we pull in, Michael was playing with a large group
Yep.
and he was finishing up. He had played 36 and he had just come in and met us. We sat and talked. We talked tequila. He had just kind of started a branded tequila. And then he said, I know you wear the Jordan 11 golds. He goes, "I'm going to make you my first Jordan brand coach." And I was like, that sounds good. You know, and so that was fine. And then we got our membership, we're fired up. Yeah. And 3 weeks later, like 15 boxes came of just different Jordan
shoes. So we followed
shoes.
through with it.
When I say, now the only good thing is my son is a 13 as well.
That's
So
great.
Connor is the benefactor, you know, and here he is at TCU. So the shoes come in, the clothes comes in. I don't ever take it for granted. I'm real appreciative.
Awesome.
And there's players, you know, the rule is if I gift you one of those, you can't sell them, obviously. But everyone, special. I could tell you right now, everyone who's a 13 in the locker room, and they're always waiting for the next.
Coach, I'm a 13.
Cortland Sutton's a 13. Are you 13?
13.
I'll send you some.
All right.
What's your color?
All right. I like red, blue.
Yeah.
Women's 9.
Yeah, it's a little harder.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys.
Good luck.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you, Coach.
You guys are doing a great job. You're killing it.
There's tons of juice here, and this is
Absolutely
awesome. It's contagious. So thanks for joining us.
And you're at the other ends of the country, so
it
works.
was like meet in the middle.
Well, this isn't really the middle.
Yeah, it's short for me.
Yeah,
I like it.
4-hour flight for me. An hour.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.